Hello, welcome to Win Some Loosemore. My name is Dieter and you join me for another mechanisms video where I take you through some of the terms that we use for different styles of games or how they work. I try and explain them to you and maybe give you a couple of suggestions that you may want to check out if it interests you. I'd like to pick up on another abstract strategy mechanism. This is the connect X or get X in a row style mechanism, typified quite simply in the very popular game Connect 4. This is something I grew up with. I'm sure many of you have as well, where you are one-on-one or in teams maybe, either side of this vertical grid where you're dropping in either red or yellow pieces to try and line them up and get 4 in a row to connect 4. And so that's a very simple thought process, if you like, a very simple aim that people are familiar with, and so it's shown up in other games. And the one I'd like to talk about, there's a few that I was considering going, do they really count in this? But I think they fall into a different category I'll talk about another time. But my favorite in this, again, might get some pushback. You might argue that this doesn't quite do this, is a game called Santorini. This is very definitely an abstract strategy game. There is a theme, which is unusual, but what you're aiming to do isn't very thematic, it doesn't quite make sense, but it is an abstract strategy. It's on a grid like you might expect from an abstract, but what you're trying to do is build buildings, and the way you win is if you build a 3-high building, so there are different size blocks. And then if you get your person to stand atop it as the 4th thing, so again, you're almost connecting 4. This is slightly different, and they use this within as kind of one aspect of the game. Yes, it's the goal, but on your turn, you are actually moving your characters around. You've got 2 pieces each that you can move around, and every turn you move one of them and then build somewhere around it. And so if it's next to somewhere where there's already been something built, you can build on top of it, and you can climb different layers, so that's how you get onto the top, but you can't jump up multiple ones. And so it's just a very simple abstract look, and uses this connect, in this case 4 in some sense, but you can block each other by capping it off rather than a person getting on there. If you build the 4th thing, it's a little blue dome which kind of finishes that building. And so for me, that it takes this very common thing. I mean, I, like probably most of you, have played a good amount of noughts and crosses or tic-tac-toe, depending on what you call it, in my life, just scribbling there, figuring out, yes, if I take the corner first, I might be more likely to win. But strategy aside on noughts and crosses, that very familiar visual puzzle, if you like, of how do I line these things up. But the joy of none of these buildings belonging to anybody, but everybody competing over them to both build them, but also then either stop other people using one of the buildings or being able to climb up the other buildings you've built to create these moves to then finish, get your person onto on top of the 3rd level, become the 4th thing to win the game. Yes, this game adds more. There are cards to give you special powers. So again, it pulls it a little bit out of that abstract world, but the pure base game, designed for 2, can be played with 3, can even be played in teams and do 4, is an excellent example of a modern style game that uses a very classic abstract style mechanism. I would love to hear other examples from you down in the comments. What games for you really work in this connect whatever number? I use X in the algebraic sense that it just stands in for whatever number it might be, 3, 4, 5. What games work for you that do this? Is this a mechanism you enjoy or not? I'd love to hear about it and chat with you. If you want to get in contact a different way, we are on social media as well. You can find us by searching Win Some Loosemore on the usual places, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, places like that. It would be great to hear from you. I hope this video was useful. I'll be back again with another one soon. I have been Dieter for Win Some Loosemore. Thank you. Goodbye.